So hi, my name is Nicholas Madera, and I would like to argue that the fat acceptance movement fails to effectively help victims of fat shaming overcome his or her real problems. Because one, the FA, which I would call fat acceptance, throughout this argument, has a weak foundation to prove that fatness is a form of body diversity and genetic and should be tolerated and respected. For my second claim, the FA promotes an unhealthy lifestyle. And my third claim is that there are major health risks associated with being overweight. So, for a brief history, history lesson. The FA was founded in 1969 by a civil rights group called the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance. Over the decades, they have worked with feminism and LGBTQ groups, and they stand against the ideal social norm of thinness as we see in entertainment and social media. And just to warn you for a bit, this speech is not intended to promote fat discrimination. I am arguing against the actions and ideas that the FA has taken. For my first claim, the FA has a weak foundation to prove that fatness is a form of body diversity and genetic that should be tolerated and respected. According to Abigail and Kevin's article called Weighing Both Sides, Morality, Mortality, and Framing Contests Over Obesity, and I'll just say Abby's article throughout my whole argument, they say that anti-obesity research is more influential than FA research. I'm not saying that the FA research has less experts or credibility. They have nutritionists, social workers, and neurologists, but that anti-obesity research tends to have more credibility. And because anti-obesity research is more influential, the FA has to contest their own political and cultural marginalization by anti-fat supporters from the medical world, educational institutions, and politics. So basically, it's already a losing battle. And there's even conflict within the FA itself. Both groups, both anti-obesity and pro-fat or obesity researchers do not necessarily believe that one can be healthy at any size. And for my second claim, the FA promotes unhealthy lifestyle that ignores the dangers of being overweight. According to Abby's article, many anti-obesity researchers express their personal opinion that the reason many weight loss diets and exercises fail is because people do not commit to them. And throughout the whole article, they are saying that there's no magic pill or magic way to greatly reduce your weight in an instant or overnight. Otherwise, if there's such thing, there wouldn't be a problem. However, that doesn't exist. And according to anti-obesity researcher and Harvard epidemiologist Walter Willett, the main excuse regardless of why they don't get exercise is because they don't have time. Look at all national surveys. The average amount of TV watching is 29 hours per week, and that's about 4 hours per day. So this quote is showing that people who want to lose weight do not make the time to actually achieve their goal. They want to continue their lifestyle that promotes unhealthy habits. And Walter Willett also says that we don't want to have discrimination. Of course we don't. But I think that it can possibly be used as an excuse to censor information about the cold reality of excessive overweight. So the FA is used as a way to ignore the consequences of any person's actions. Basically, you're running away from your own problems, from the real problems. And then according to Idoa Afu and Rose Brigadelli, our article called Shaping the Online Fat Acceptance Movement, talking about body image and beauty standards, the FA author of Sex and a Fat Girl Named Fierce argues that fat people should take responsibility for their bodies. Her fatness is largely a result of her personal lifestyle. She prefers to be fat, not thin. And again, this contradicts the FA's ideas that the fatness is part of body diversity and genetic. Fierce is saying it's a lifestyle. She chooses to be fat, and she chooses to be unhealthy. Not trying to blame her. Finally, for my third claim, there are major health risks associated with being overweight that have consequences in people's lives. So I don't want to go too much in detail because of time, but you probably learned throughout PE or biology or health classes that being overweight is associated with other health risks such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and etc. So according to Professor Kopelman of University of East Anglia Institute of Health, obesity is a major contributor to hypertension, meaning high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome, which is cluster conditions that increase the risk of heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. And Kopelman says that a combination of systolic and diastolic dysfunction progress to heart failure. And I am going to explain what that means. So there's a change of volume am I done?
Well, you're out of time.
Oh.
I don't know if you're done. Those are two different things.
I'll just drop the mic.
All right, well, you identify the proposition at the beginning of the speech, and there is a preview. I think you need a little bit more context to explain not just what the group is, but what their goals are, why they feel it's necessary to be talking about this issue, and why it seems to be in conflict with the health movements that it kind of sometimes rubs up against. With a little bit more context, I think the argument would be clearer. If people are paying close attention and they can follow everything that you're saying, they'll probably be okay, but because you are talking quickly, and because sometimes the claims are framed and phrased in a more complicated way than would be ideal, it's a little bit harder to make sense of the argument that you're making, and I think that context would have helped that. I did think that you had some good information that you're presenting in the speech. I heard testimony from a variety of authoritative figures talking about the way these issues are perceived. There's some information about how in essence the fat acceptance movement may be running up against the health issue of controlling your weight, and that there is, in fact, a problem between those two. See, I think that's probably the thing that needs to be developed a little bit more about how these things, that we've got these conflicting impulses and they create problems for us, and that this one group and this particular approach, philosophy, I should say, rather than just the group, is creating a bigger problem because of the kinds of demands that they're making. You do try to kind of qualify your claim a little bit by suggesting that you are, not advancing the notion that there be fat discrimination, but at the same time you are advocating the notion that choosing to be fat is a problem for people, that it is one of those things that has negative health consequences, and that the fat acceptance movement is in essence emboldening people to justify unhealthy lifestyles and behavior. And I think that's the long-term impact of your argument, and that should be a little bit clearer. I like the fact that you cited all your sources in the presentation. You're very consistent about that. Maybe a little bit more information here and there. That whole last segment, it probably could be summarized with one piece of evidence, because I don't think anybody disputes the notion that obesity has a harmful consequence to people and their health. The real question is the obesity that results something that has a complication for people in their lives in other places, and that's where I assume that the fat acceptance movement is most concerned. The kinds of things where they find themselves on the outside looking in when it comes to parts in movies, or being looked down on in social systems, or being the butt of jokes, or having to justify fitting into a theater seat or something like that. There are all kinds of potential problems that are coming up there. All right, thank you.